So that's just to reintroduce myself. My name is Kerry-Ann McLean. I almost had a pause there. To Kerry-Ann Joseph-McLean. And as we are here on our health talks that we have every single week, without fail, because as we are here sharing the goodness of health and being proactive about health, at different seasons of our life, of course, health impacts us in different stages, whether it's personally with a friend, family members, different cycles of our life. And so to be aware of what's happening is to be present in the moment and to be able to know what you can do to sort of help you along your life journey in making healthier decisions that can sort of minimize what you're experiencing through your health journey. And so as for myself and Cornell, again, thank you so much, Cornell, for introducing those who are here on the call. What I want to stress with you is that there's no, sometimes there's a stigma when we speak about our health conditions, and we sort of have the fear of judgment, fear of being criticized, this fear overall that we feel that we don't have a safe space to speak. And so to be able to share our concerns, and sometimes I would say to you, this would be a great way that we can form a community of like-minded individuals who want to be proactive with their health. We have a private Facebook group that's called Longevity of Organo, and we represent a company called Organo. But most of all, the most important thing is to empower people through health, making healthier choices. We have a dear friend of ours who he just speaks on this as a functional medicine practitioner and also having a practice with many other individuals in that field. He just speaks about how we are the doctors of the future, meaning that we are more mindful of what we are going through if we are present in sort of identifying what's happening with us, so we can be better articulate to our health practitioners of how we're feeling and doing our due diligence, do the correct type of research. And just to make it very clear, my husband and I, we transitioned from corporate to empowering health through this platform. And so this has been something that we've been sort of passionate about for many, many years, over 12 years, and both personally and of course with all those that we connect with, like yourself. And so as we go through our life cycle, we've had our own health conditions or health scares, so to speak, with our family. Some have passed on, some actually have are still going through certain ailments. But there's no such thing for us as a final decision, because once there's life, there's hope. And you can continue your life knowing that you have the ability to change things around one step at a time. So I'm going to share with you this slide. And for those of you who are here on the Facebook group, we do have this in the under events. If you'd like to see the slides that I'm presenting, which is you're only privy to this Zoom call, then you feel free to do so. And so as I share this with you, please also, if you have questions, you can place it in the comments on our live here on Facebook or in the chat that we have, because we do have a Q&A at the end. Again, just making it clear that we are not health practitioners. We don't profess to have any type of doctrine, but what we are health enthusiasts, both myself and my husband. And so sharing the goodness of health by being proactive is helping us to live a life where we can continue to add a value to each person that we connect with, whether it's a word, a thought, or a deed. So as I share this with you, some things may, sort of come to your mind. Please feel free. You can take a screen capture. You can place a question in the chat, as I mentioned before, or you can simply just write it down for your future reference. I know with myself, repetition is key. I have to watch something 2 or 3 times to be able for it to sink in. And sometimes you can miss things as you're watching it for the first time. And of course, going over those notes and watching the video again, which we do have shared as a recorded call for later, so you can view it later at some other time. So as I share this with you, there's a connection with of the topic I'm going to share with you. And our topic today is on chronic pain and mental health. Chronic pain, there's a connection. And so it's considered like the quiet agony as we go through. And unless there's no way to measure pain, there's no tool or sort of type of device that can measure pain. you're experiencing that, the level of pain and your tolerance of the pain is how you're able to either articulate it or suffer in silence. And so some people will go through their whole life not being able to identify what they can do to help them in their mental state, because most people who are going through a mental challenge or mental health may not connect the dots to say the mental health and my chronic pain are related. They may think, okay, I'm feeling this way, but why? Not realizing it could be connected. So the mental health aspect of it is very important. And this month of March, we are speaking on mental health, speaking different areas, but just keep in mind that the ability to live a healthier lifestyle, healthier life, healthier journey, it is possible depending on your level of your chronic pain that you're having and what is you're currently doing and how you can improve it. So we're going to touch on different topics, so overall wellness, overall well-being, mental health, lifestyle, foods, and such, as what you can do, and some suggestions as how you can actually improve it if you haven't already incorporated that into your health journey. So we all know that, you know, everyone's path is unique. Fortunately, there are also many similarities. So making the mindset shift from surviving to thriving takes time. So practicing patience with yourself is very important. Most people can practice patience with others, but not with themselves. And but unfortunately, some people aren't able to move forward. And there's a continued feeling of hopelessness and helplessness. Feeling hopeless and helpless over time. And sometimes it's voiced or it is kept in, internalized, and that can actually be more negatively impact you than you actually realize. So there's a cycle. So the cycle of anxiety can trigger more pain. More pain it can trigger a feeling of hopelessness. Hopelessness can also impact your sleep. Your mind is not settled, you're not at peace. And so it's like a vicious cycle. So one can offset the other. And so a lack of sleep can trigger different things like depression, anxiety, mood swings. It can actually trigger moments of your patience. So you might have more of a flare up or reaction to situations that are simple situations, can trigger anger, frustration. And sometimes you might have medication that can actually have a negative impact on you. So the difference between fixing your pain and healing your body is very telling. So with some injuries and diseases, the pain you feel matches the amount of damage or sickness in your body. With chronic pain, this is not always true. So the amount of pain you feel and how long it lasts might be greater than the damage to your actual physical body. So sometimes it may last longer than the injury itself. So your recovery time on the outside can seem that it's actually you're healing, but the mental state stays if you're not really sort of bringing attention to yourself, your self-awareness that actually this is connected. So an example for that for some people would be, let's say you're going through chronic nerve pain after you have cancer, or sometimes you may have fibromyalgia. And in this case, you might have fibromyalgia, or you may have rheumatoid arthritis. You may have different type of chronic pain. But an example of this would be, let's say you're going through a cancer treatment. And so if you go through the cancer treatment, you finish your chemo, your radiation, in some cases, some type of therapy, but the pain still lingers after you have this. You may have physical pain after, but also the mindset of hopelessness and feeling helpless. And some people may go to the extreme of having suicidal tendencies because your body's not balanced, it's out of alignment, right? Because you're giving it something to help to fix the immediate pain or the issue you're going through. But like I said, the body is not healing because mind, body, spirit. When this happens, there's a purpose for treatment that might change from fixing a problem to healing the body. And so as I share this with you, I think of it this way. Some people may have, bouts of arthritis, depending on, their health journey. Some people might have endometriosis. Some may have back pain or migraine or fibromyalgia. In some cases, you might have fibromyalgia migraine, as an example. You may have chronic pain through arthritis, or you may have had surgery, or may have had a fall, or some sort of illness that may trigger some of these things. So there's also ways that can bring of certain type of conditions that can bring on inflammation in the body. That means your body's not balanced either. It's too acidic, It's not getting the right nutrients, it's not getting the right movement, it's not getting the right sleep. So it can impact you because the balance of your body is off. You're no longer in homeostasis state. So keep being mindful of this and sort of questioning why you're feeling this way. It takes more of you being a detective of your own self to sort of write down the things you're feeling, when you're feeling them, how you're feeling. And so you sort of keep a journal. And when I mentioned you being us being the doctors of the future doctors of our lives, this is what I mean, right? You're not going to self-diagnose and give yourself medication because you can't. You can't prescribe yourself pharmaceutical unless it's over the counter. But these also have long-lasting effects on your organs if you take pharmaceuticals for too long a period to mask the pain or to dull the pain, but not sort of address the mental state that you may have. So there's a relationship between both. And so you have chronic pain, you can say, I have chronic pain, or you can say, my body has chronic pain, but it's not a death sentence, so to speak. And so you having these type of experiences, so others may not be able to empathize. Others may not be able to understand because they're not in your shoes, so to speak. So this can trigger many things. Chronic pain and depression can often occur together. The nature of chronic pain and its residual ramifications, they can cause things like unpredictability, social isolation, because you feel sort of withdrawn. You don't feel like you want to be able to express how you're feeling because of the emotional state you're in. It can cause financial burdens as well, and loss of independence, which can be that cycle I mentioned before, and that can trigger depression and undiagnosed depression. So what's related to in the way of chronic pain? What can trigger that? So you can have anxiety attacks. Anxiety attacks can seem like you're having, in some cases, if not, you don't realize you have anxiety, an attack, you may think, oh my gosh, I'm having a heart attack. We're actually similar feeling, but actually you have an anxiety attack because you have experienced chronic pain, or the chronic pain triggers the anxiety attack. So again, it's that cycle, that cycle of, okay, increased pain triggers anxiety, sleep disturbance. So these are things that you have to be mindful of. So depression is a common complication, and it affects your mental health. So you can have from low to moderate to high pain that impacts your body, but you also your threshold as to how you manage that pain. Some people have a high tolerance for pain. Some people have a very low tolerance for pain. So the effects of depression on your body can actually be masked as different symptoms. So as we mentioned before, insomnia, headaches, and fatigue, things like diarrhea and constipation can be related to depression. Inflammation in the joints, like you mentioned before, but also increased risk of heart attack if you're going through a depressive disorder because your body's out of alignment because you have chronic pain. Weight loss, weight gain, nausea, loss of libido. These are all things that can actually be masked as depression, and you don't realize that it's depression because you're thinking of something else. You haven't sort of connected the dots. Clinical depression and chronic pain can also form a cycle in which each causes the other to get worse. Again, that cycle. So as other things I can share with you, because some people are clinically diagnosed as having depression, some people may have mild to moderate depression that's linked to the chronic pain that you have, which can actually increase change from mild to moderate to clinical depression because it's untreated or undiagnosed. So what is considered as clinical depression is it occurs for a period lasting for more than 2 weeks. You have appetite and weight change, which I mentioned before, a sense of worthlessness or even guilt. Sleeping too little or sleeping too much can also be a sign. Decreased ability to concentrate, that's also one. Poor memory, that can happen as well as sadness, and I mentioned before, hopelessness. Irritability is one, and proneness to crying. Just all of a sudden you just feel like you want to cry, you feel overwhelmed, and any little task may trigger that sort of episode of you wanting to just cry and feel that you are that worthlessness feeling. Restlessness or fatigue is another one. You don't know why. You may blame it on the weather. Oh my gosh, the weather's up and down. I'm feeling so drained. I feel so tired. You find that your thoughts are unclear. You're all over the place mentally, and actually that could be a sign of depression. So there are other factors you may have to look at, but having that in your mindset that this is how you're feeling gives you the ability to better articulate to your therapist that you can reach out to, or even your doctor that they can refer you to someone who can help you in that field to help you to sort of identify those things before you take the next step of taking medication. Another thing too is lack of interest or pleasure in activities. That's a telltale sign of depression. And so you also in that you're thinking, okay, it's better for me to feel isolated, to be by myself with my own thoughts, when actually a shift in the way you think, a shift in the way you move, the shift in all of these things can help you to have a change in the cycle of what you're going through. So the whole person health I'm going to speak on can lead to many good things. So just for example, if you include physical, whole person, including physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being, I mentioned that homeostasis state, mind, body, spirit connected, helps you to get out from, I call this the downward spiral of emotions, and actually elevate you to an upward cycle of emotion. So things like positive mindset versus negative mindset, the way of think, the way you move, the way you act, not acting, but the way how you actually respond to people. So healing means becoming as healthy as possible. Now, is this an overnight change of how to move from unhealthy thoughts or unhealthy being to a healthy version of yourself? It can take time. So functioning as well as possible, avoiding the problems medication and procedures can cause, and feeling as well and happy and satisfied with life as possible. So how do you do that? So here's some things I can share with you. So coping with chronic illness and pain can be challenging, especially if you don't have an idea of what you can do to cope. So most people, depending on what you're going through, if you have, for example, no insurance, or for example, you have limited insurance, or you may not have the financial wherewithal to speak to a therapist, and you feel isolated and alone, you may have these challenges that may happen. And at that time, that's when you need to reach out to someone. So for example, I would say to you, for coping, you can actually identify what works for you and what works for others. As we mentioned, we're all unique. Although we're similar, we're unique. So what may work for you may not work for me. So knowing that, if you have the ability, and of course your limitations with your current body, some people can do a lot of movement, some people can't, because it has a negative impact instead of a positive. So I'd say to you, some helpful tips I can share with you that will not or should not cause obvious harm to your body is first to seek guidance from your doctor, or for example, a chiropractor or a physiotherapist. Discuss how you can actually incorporate, your increasing your activities, and how you can expose yourself to the good things that will help you to become healthier. So trying relaxation techniques, guided image exercise, you can do biofeedback, you can do meditation. I love meditation because it actually centers you and allows you to be able to recalibrate and to clear your mind, to sort of download all the things that are not impacting you mentally, negatively, but also to help you to deal with chronic pain. Because once you detach your mind from meditation or even exercise, you shift your focus away from the pain. And over time, you find that your body is relaxing. That means that your inflammation has the ability to actually reduce, because you're no longer in a stress, flight or fight mode, or you're in survival mode, but thriving mode. So looking at things like cognitive therapy could be a key indicator, a key tool you can use in your coping mechanism. It can help patients address destructive emotional pattern and behavior, because there's a saying that I like to say: if you're in the picture, it's hard for you to see outside objectively of yourself. If you're outside of the picture, you can actually watch your life as an observer versus being in part of that story. So you're able to have more self-awareness. But if you're in the moment, in the pain, in the challenge you're feeling, the chronic pain, and also the mental feeling that you have, which can be linked with both, it's hard to say, okay, I need help. And sometimes you're in denial, and you can figure, I can fix it on my own. I can do it on my own. I just need to be by myself, right? So identifying these patterns can mean that, yes, you can journal what you're feeling. You can, sort of write down and scribble, track it the way you can, the best you can. But speaking to someone without fear of judgment is also a good way to help you to along your mental healing of the pain that you're feeling. So even though you have chronic pain and you're learning ways to alleviate that, you also have the ability to know what coping skills you can put in your arsenal, your basket of arsenal, so to speak, to help you to deflect or sort of distract the mind from the thoughts that are negative, that cause you to be in a downward spiral of emotion. So remember, you don't have to live with chronic pain and depression. There are ways that you can help yourself within your abilities and also externally by reaching out to others who can help you to shift gears, so to speak. So cognitive thinking is one. It's called cognitive behavioral therapy. I'm not an expert in this area. These are just things that are through research, through credible sites like Harvard or Yale, or even through PubMed studies, or even through National Health, archives where they have information free to the public. You can actually go into yourself and you can find ways to be able to get, some more information beyond what I'm sharing here, because it's just sort of the tip of the iceberg of how we can sort of share information to help each other. So this is actually a therapy in behavioral medicine works to address the interplay between your thoughts, your behavior, your physical reaction, and to reduce stress, and also to be able to identify what's happening with you. So what we think affects how we act, how we feel psychologically and physically, and you can tell. You can tell when you're feeling really great versus when you're not feeling so good, and what we gravitate to when we're not feeling good in the way of food choices or lack thereof, lack of sleep versus how we feel at the optimal best. So what we feel, psychologically and physically affects how we think and what we do, as I mentioned. But what we do affects how we think. So how we think, how we feel, and what we do affects both your physicality and how it affects you psychologically. So you tend to, through this cognitive therapy, which is called CBT, it actually sort of target areas like problem focus, how you focus on your emotions, focus on your thoughts, focus on your behavior, and of also being present and centered in the moment. So several tips to manage your depression associated with chronic pain can also include the following. Things like communication. Physicians tend treating chronic pain conditions may not even assess that person for depression because you have not expressed to them how you're feeling. Remember, doctors in the medical field, they are taught on pharmaceuticals, but they're taught to the best of their training. So it's sort of an educated guess from the information they have and the training they have, the documentation, the studies, all of this is what they relate to be able to help you to assess. Now, if you do not sort of articulate how you're feeling, they may go on the assumption that you're feeling great. The perfect example with my mom, when she had a severe stroke from diabetes. Our doctor, actually, her doctor, which with a follow-up phone appointment, advised us to look out for smiling depression, because that person sort of doesn't want to let their family member know that they are feeling this way. They hide it, and of course, not expressing it. So looking out for that also takes some effort, especially with the people around you, to be mindful of those things, because you may seem that you're okay, you seem that you're happy, even though you're going through the chronic pain, but the feeling of worthlessness or helplessness, or just feeling, it's sort of like going back to the mindset that it's not worth it. All right, so it also can be the extreme. So communicating effectively, asking for help, reaching out to physicians if you don't have one, try to get one through the network that's there, made through recommendations for friends. And then they can refer you to the right therapist who can help you to sort of be in a group of people who can feel comfortable in sharing, communicating how you're feeling without getting that sympathy, but empathy. So also medication is also a way you can go to. Some people have negative effects or impact right away on antidepressants. Some people find it works for them. But keep in mind, you're taking Antidepressants may be a temporary solution, which can help to relieve depression or the actual symptoms. You can actually see that it can work over several weeks, but this also should be taken as prescribed at the same time, same day, but also they have some negative effects. All medications do, but also pay attention to your body, how your body's reacting to this. So keep in mind as well, if you are given antidepressants, just don't wean yourself off, because it can have terrible side effects or negative effects, where it can cause certain things like suicidal tendencies, thoughts of further depression. So again, reach back out to your physician and let them know how you're feeling, and they may be able to change or bring a lower dosage of antidepressants, or there might be a natural alternative to what you're consuming if you're actually going through that stage of your chronic pain or through mental challenge or mental health. So identification first for some of the things I want to just bring to your attention. Along with chronic pain, and you have mental health in the way of your depressive or disorder or depression, or even, for example, you're going through anxiety. Identifying what triggers that, identifying what the stress triggers are. So one of the things I can share with you is that if you put certain things into place, you sort of set yourself up for success every single day. So if you actually do these things when certain circumstances happen, and you're going through certain pain, whether it's through the weather, whether it's through conversations or the environment or work or even driving, and you have a flare-up of your chronic pain, you've already done things beforehand to help you. It's like, for example, if you have a migraine, you're a migraine sufferer, you don't wait until the migraine is fully the full experience. You actually feel it coming on. So you sort of take medication to sort of, lower the impact or the severity of your migraine. So if you're going through a chronic pain and you're having these mental challenges in the way of, how you're feeling, things like I mentioned meditation, but also using relaxation techniques that can help you to establish a more peaceful mindset. Because if your mind, body, spirit is sort of out of whack, out of alignment, you find that it's like a domino effect. So you go to sleep, or lack thereof, you get up, you feel the same way. And over a week or two, it gets worse. So even in your state where you're having chronic pain, do what you can to sort of relax your body so that you shift from survival mode to thriving mode over time. These techniques, according to what works for your body, will allow you to be able to take the next step of improving your health. Talk therapy can help to refocus your negative energy. Meditation, as I mentioned before, is actually one of the things that I like to do. Asking your trusted friends and family to sort of help you to have that sounding board in the community of people. If you don't have an immediate family, but you have friends who are like family, like and trust, sort of let them know how you're feeling without, and sort of letting them know, I don't need sympathy, I don't need pity, I need empathy. And so asking your friends to be able to be that sounding board when you're going through these chronic pain episodes, helping you to sort of ease or release your stress, especially when you have daily activities. There's nothing wrong with asking for help, right? So exercising is one of the things I want to stress. I mean, for example, we have everyday things we have to deal with. So self-care, exercise is not the main thing for us until we actually go into a reactive mode versus being proactive. So we know exercise is the most important and underutilized antidepressant. We know that because if you go for a walk, you come back, you tell yourself, I feel good. You actually go and you do some sort of a yoga exercise and you finish, you feel good. You go for a walk through the trails, you feel good. You do little things, 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes. That's all it takes to shift the brain, the way how you feel. Another thing as well is to incorporate a healthier lifestyle by making healthier choices, being mindful. So mindful shift in your way of your being could be anything from, what you consume. Sometimes when we're feeling depressed, we don't know we're depressed, but we gravitate to things for comfort food. I do that too, right? We all fall privy to that. My thing is chocolate. Yours could be something else like cigarette or alcohol, which can worsen depression, right? So we all have some form of depression from time to time because we don't really realize that's what it's called, because we're just feeling a little bit, not so good. But keep in mind, when you consume alcohol, either the things that are actually going to trigger inflammation in your body is like that cycle. Establishing a regular sleep routine is one of the things you can consider putting into place. For example, you can set an indicator on your phone, for example, and on your phone, you can put a sleep cycle on your alarm to remind you this is the time to sort of wind down and get some time for sleeping, right? To make sure you get, the proper amount of sleep so that your body can recover and rejuvenate. Now, I have a back problem. I injured myself some time ago, and I've realized that when I don't sleep enough, my back flares up. So I don't have chronic pain, but I can understand and empathize that if for myself, much less someone else who has chronic pain, that these are simple things you can do to help to alleviate or to reduce the inflammation in your body. Stretching, all these things help. And I know for myself that has worked for me. So physical exercise, physical activity can help to ease your depression, as we mentioned before. A short walk will help as well. If you feel that you don't have the ability to just walk by yourself because you might be bored, grab a friend or do a challenge, on your WhatsApp or something else, form a group. And even if you guys are walking separate, areas, you live in different countries or different cities or different towns, you can form a group, even on Facebook, a private group, or even like, for example, on WhatsApp, and you can do a video call, of course, safely, and you walk, and everyone's walking different paths, sort of give you the momentum to sort of have like an accountability group to keep you on track. Physiological based therapy is also a good thing as well. Talking to a therapist helps. And so you find that a lot of people, especially in our community, feel that there's a stigma about speaking to a therapist, and there's no shame in that. There's no shame at all because you need the help, go for the help. The worst case scenario is that someone is in your circle who will speak negative about mental health. Then you make a decision to set boundaries for that person, so that they have limited association, limited access to what you're going through without fear of judgment. And so doing these things will help you to get out of the mindset or the phase of depression, anxiety, that you have these things in your basket of arsenal. So again, for those of you who are not here on on the Zoom call, I'm showing these slides as to what you can actually get on the tips. And it's not too late to join us on the Zoom call. If you're a part of our Facebook group, you can go to events, and the link there for the Zoom is there. You can join us at this time. It's not too late. So the exercise and depression also are some of the things we mentioned. But here's a study that happened that I actually found that how much this was kind of, I asked how much exercise is needed to help with depression. So only a few minutes of exercise is needed to show health benefits. There was a 2022 study that found that brisk walking for as little as 20 minutes a day, about 2.5 hours a week, reduced depression symptoms in participants by 25%. So other researchers have identified a sweet spot between 15 to 30 minutes for optimal mood boosting. I tend to, when I go for my walks, I tend to listen to, let's say, for example, personal development books, audiobooks. I listen to music that, in my case, I listen to Christian music, but when I'm walking, so that's changed my mind. And I find that my mood, sort of like shifts. Some people love swimming. I have a friend, she's a senior, and she's like a fish. She swims 20 laps, and she has an issue with sclerosis in her spine. And so when she does the swimming is low impact, and she's swimming 20 laps, like, a teenager, and she finds that throughout her week, even if it's twice a week, she does it, she finds that she doesn't have the pain. She doesn't have this disorder, which can lead to depression, right? Yard work, I found actually works for me. I started gardening about 4 years ago, and I didn't realize I had a green thumb, but actually helps to release any type of stress I may be feeling, and it's a win-win for me. So if you're into gardening, it's actually pretty good. So one other thing for benefits of exercise when fighting depression is you find increased confidence, increased social interaction, you release your feel-good endorphins, you provide healthier coping strategies, you find your sleep is improved, You find your blood flow is increased. You can actually feel your body changing, in a way how it's moving. Your bones, your joints, your muscles, all of that. Your heart rate, you actually can tell. You can feel it in your body. You also find you have a boost of energy once you're finished all of this, and you have a better quality of sleep. Also can improve your sex life. So most people who are going through chronic pain, that's the last thing on their mind. But if you tend to put certain things in your coping basket, that actually would be like a side benefit because you know that you're feeling better. So that sort of increase your feel good hormones. And of course, sex is as a part of exercise as well. So that also will also improve your emotion and your feeling of from shifting from depression to feeling good about yourself. So chiropractic care is also another one for depression, which I found. There's actually a link at the bottom here. You can actually read to your heart's content. This is the National Institute of Health government website, and these are all credible finds. So it's not where you go into Google and do a random search. I tend to go to credible sites that doctors and practitioners, people who do different studies in that field, and they come back with their findings through these studies. So the treatment of chronic pain and depression, as we know, go hand in hand. It is possible that you can actually separate that because even if you have chronic pain and you do things like chiropractic care, even physiotherapy, it can actually reduce the way how you're feeling and the way of your pain level, meaning that your the feeling of depression actually reduces, shifts. And so determining the source of the pain is not always possible, but doing these type of therapy, if you're able to, financially or through insurance or through support of your friends or family, can actually have a lasting impact, especially when you're taking proactive care of yourself. So we know pain leads to depression, depression leads to pain, that cycle. But when chronic pain condition exists, it can also it can also affect the family. And it can be detrimental to many relationships, whether you're with a spouse or just your family, your children, even your extended family, it can have, a ripple effect. So when families have a member who lives in chronic pain, it can affect everyone in the family adversely. So the pain can cause the sufferer to be agitated, grumpy, easily angered, as I mentioned before. But disruption of life gets over exaggerated as the person acts out the irritation and the pain as well. So you may find that you may be angry about something that you're feeling, and someone comes to you and have a conversation and you're easily irritated. So what do? You lash out at the person because that's the easiest way to vent your frustration. And so that person walks away with a misunderstanding that you're actually personally attacking them versus addressing how you're feeling. And so these are certain things that you need to be aware of, and knowing what to do and how to help that person to cope and to sort of calm them down helps the relationship, whether it's family and friends. So here's some more effective chronic pain management I want to bring to your attention. So one of the things I can say for you is the do's and don'ts. So do take the time to really empathically listen to them. Do show them empathy and compassion without giving them that pity or sort of sympathy, because there's a big difference between sympathy and empathy. Do not minimize the seriousness of their pain, especially if it's a chronic pain, because some it can be tiring at times if the person keeps telling you how you're feeling, but you're not practicing empathy with them. Because you sort of detach, you become desensitized to them sharing how they're feeling when they need an outlet to speak about how they're feeling, and you're sort of a sounding board. So do not imply that it's all in their head, because that can happen. They have a negative impact on the person who's actually going through it. They feel they want to withdraw and not share how they're feeling, so they feel again isolated. Do not blame them. They did it to themselves, so to speak. What did you do to cause you to feel this way? Do not excuse, don't accuse them of medicine or drug seeking behaviors, because that again can have a negative impact on them mentally. So common family system problems can be codependency or enabling the behavior, meaning that you want to do everything for them. You want to be able to say, okay, let me do that for you, let me do this for you. Whereas what they need is to have someone to listen, but not sort of doing everything for them, because they feel, again, that sense of worthlessness, unworthy, helplessness, and hopeless, because they feel they can't, in their mind, they want to do this, but physically they can't because of the pain that they're going through. Moments of feeling burnt out and becoming angry with the person is also something that you have to be mindful of. So making peace with your pain to end the struggle with chronic pain is something you can consider. And depending on your level and severity of your tolerance. Now we know chronic pain is something that you may have experienced or know someone who is going through it. But the journey may start from the starting to strive from survival mode, one day at a time, and feeling these moments of hopelessness and helplessness, to transitioning to experiencing hope. So, for example, you can work with someone, a therapist, even a friend, or even seek out books, audiobooks, books, physical books, or even form a group of in a positive conversation of how to challenge the limited beliefs in your mind, how to change your distorted perception and unhelpful thoughts, and but also learning ways to work smarter, not harder. Also, set realistic goals and objectives. So, for example, let's say you have these dreams and goals that you want to pursue something, whether it's studying or starting a business or starting a career, or you have, things that you want to achieve in this lifetime. But your body is not going to allow you to do that because of the chronic pain that you're going through. So the level of frustration, the cycle of anxiety and depression can happen because you're sort of putting these unrealistic goals and objectives on yourself with beyond the limitation that you're currently feeling. So it's like a cycle. You want to do more, you want to be more, but then your body is saying, no, stop, stop, stop. But then again, the brain will have you thinking, this sort of perception of you being a failure, you not being able to say, okay, just take a moment, take a breath. Let me just set some, small goals, small steps to manage my chronic pain, manage how I'm feeling in the way of your depression, if you're going through that, and also taking small baby steps to achieve your goals. Because once you're able to achieve your goals and objectives, again, it can shift how you think. Remember, I mentioned this upward cycle of spiral cycles of feeling and downward spiral of emotion. So that is you're feeling, really good, energetic. You feel, you can conquer the world. You feel that, you're feeling really great. And then the downward spiral of depression of all these self-doubts with the limited beliefs. So another thing too is what I can share with you is in order to set those realistic goals, I would suggest you to put things into place. Being mindful. Self-awareness needs to be heightened. Being really observant of yourself instead of observing everything around you that you can't control, is actually you're deflecting. So if you can actually come back into self and practice certain things like self-care, taking time to relax, breathing exercise every single day, sleeping, even if, let's say, for example, if you're like me and your cycle has been broken for some time, especially when I cared for my mom for a few years when she was bedridden, I had broken sleep for 2+ years, an hour here, wake up, an hour there, making sure she's okay. I have no regrets, but that impacted my sleep cycle. Now, prior to that, I worked in the corporate world, so my hours were also off because I worked in IT. So transitioning from corporate world to, our own health and wellness, business, it took some transition, but also being mindful myself of what I need to do. So if you're able to develop some things, put things in place, develop compassion, even some empathy for your significant other, because even though you're going through chronic pain, that person is also impacted because they feel that they can't help you. They feel helpless because you're going through the pain and they feel like I can't help you. Especially for those the other way around. You have a partner who's going through chronic pain. Be there for that person the best way you can without judging. Do things that can help you in the way of, communication. Don't keep secrets from each other. Things, especially in intimate moments, if you find that you're lacking intimacy and you sort of brushing it off, that person may think, okay, it's me, versus you just expressing to them, this is how you're feeling. So remember, you didn't cause it, you can't control it, and you can't cure it. But there are ways to sort of minimize it. And so if you think of things like what you eat, how you think, how you sleep, how you poop, all of these things can have a direct impact on your anxiety and depression, especially going through chronic pain. So for example, I mentioned to you we tend to gravitate to, coping in a negative way by things we eat, drink, smoke, all of these things. So for example, if you tend to crave highly processed food for a quick boost in your mood, yes, it might have that immediate impact, but then it has a long-lasting negative effect. So these foods can cause things like, processed food, junk food, sweets, all of these things can cause inflammation in the body, but also have trigger your chronic pain, which can lead to your depression. So fighting inflammation to offset these kind of pain, to make also gives you the opportunity to make healthier choices, to plan your day, plan your week, prepare your meals in advance so you can know, okay, I'm making healthier choices. Even if you have a sweet tooth, you can actually make healthier choices for that sugar rush, but in a healthier way, in a sweet way. So the connection between food, obesity, and pain go hand in hand. If you separate, for example, weight gain, weight loss, all of these things, you can have the ability to know, okay, if I eat this particular way, and I gain weight, it may cause chronic pain. If I become a little bit more obese than my ideal weight, then it can cause inflammation, but you can do things to offset it by stopping the inflammation by what we do, how we eat, and the choices, and of course, being aware. So here's some foods for thought. I'm not going to go through all of them. Some screen captures, things like salmon, blueberries, nuts, avocados, all of these things are really good to help to boost your brain, which can help with your mental it's improving your mental state because we eat processed food. It can actually have a negative impact on your brain cell. It can cause more damage to your brain, which can trigger mental decline. So for your short and long-term memory, extra energy, all of these things, healthier whole foods would be the ideal way to go within your budget, within your ability to get these type of things. Be mindful, write down what you think you need, was paying attention to what kind of things you're allergic to, what your body can process. Whole grains, pumpkin seeds, broccolis, oranges, eggs. I'm an egg person, so I love eggs. These are really good for the brain. It actually helps you regulate your mood. It reduces depression, helps you with your overall well-being, but also helping to regulate your body and reducing inflammation as well. Some other things for dietary supplementation for a superfood things like omega-3s, fatty acids, probiotics, turmeric. Also, these are anti-inflammatory. So they have a really good nutrients to help your body to combat, some of the inflammation your body may have. But also, in addition to that, consider other superfoods, things like Ganoderma or reishi it's called, lion's mane and cordyceps, which actually have been our go-to favorite superfoods for the last 12 years within our household. So what I want to focus on as we wrap up is these three superfoods I actually love. Ganoderma lucidum is one of them. It's called reishi. It's really good at fighting free radicals. It has a lot of minerals, a high amount of amino acids. It's considered a food supplement, but also a medicinal mushroom. So it helps reduce your stress and improve your overall well-being, your health benefits, many health benefits, over 3,000 case studies of different things like anti-cancer, anti-depression, inflammation, and many other things, but also supports the immune system. So another superfood as well is cordyceps. It helps you with your endurance. It helps with your libido. It helps with, of course, your anti-aging, but most of all, it helps with supporting your energy and of course, your immune system as well. So they work in synergy with each other, and lion's mane also helps with the brain and the gut. So if there's a finding I found on PubMed.gov that the gut is your second brain. And so if your gastrointestinal is impacted, taking all the stress and anxiety, all of these things, it actually can trigger inflammation. It can trigger many things, but also impacts your mood because your brain and your gut, they communicate. And if there's a disruption between the two, this can have a negative impact on your overall health. So as we share this, we speak on why we are so passionate about these three major superfoods. We represent a company called Organo, and so we discovered wellness with its brand and the power of what these can do through everyday consumable items like coffee, tea, hot cocoa. Because most of us, we grew up on medication or we grew up on natural things, depending on your level of health. And so we know things from, for example, in the Caribbean, we know that if we take a particular herb or a type of plant, this helps with X versus Y. So this mushroom is indigenous to the Eastern world. And so a lot of doctors, especially in Japan, they recommend taking the Ganoderma along with your medication to protect your organs, your function, your cells, your blood, your brain. Why is you taking medication for specific situations or conditions so that you're protecting your overall body? So we're practicing mindfulness through positive wellness. One small change which can lead basics to a lasting impact. So as I'm sharing this with you, I won't go through every single line, but you can see the PubMed study, the findings through pubmed.gov. So Ganoderma lucidum is one of the superfoods that helps with depression-like behavior in chronic social defeat stress expressive depression, sorry. So for example, I spoke about, quality of sleep, improving the body, mental alertness, also helps with oxygenate the body and your stamina. So this actually has over 150 plus antioxidants and nutrients that versus, let's say, you had a whole avocado. And so it helps with all of these things and more. Here's some additional findings for Ganoderma. It helps, I mentioned about improving depressive disorder, but also it helps with a sedative type feeling. So it relaxes the body, distresses the body. The difference between ours is two things. Now, you can go on to Amazon, you can go on to your Healthy Planet or to your Whole Food health store. You can find these. Not a problem because it is something that's been identified in the last few years as a superfood that helps with overall well-being. But what makes it different from ours versus those who go into the store is that these are, although they're considered, they're considered as certified organic, 100% certified organic. There's two ways organic can be classified as. What's grown in a plastic bag, artificial, still considered organic, versus natural, as nature intended. So we have a patent that protects the ground cultivation, and we have over 32 qualifications on this particular Ganoderma called reishi as well in Japan, but Ganoderma in the Western world. So meaning that if you consume our Ganoderma reishi, or spores they call it, it absorbs into your body and stays in your body 99.9% versus what you would see that's considered certified organic but grown artificially. It actually 4 to 30% absorption rate, meaning that over, almost 87% can actually you pass it out. So that's the main difference between ours, even though both are considered organic. Here's some additional PubMed findings here. We know Ganoderma, of course, again, through pubmed.gov, you can do your own diligence, but the screens are here. You can still join us and see that as we're wrapping up shortly. So it actually has a lot of antioxidants. It helps, including isoflavones and flavonoids. So most food we eat have these particular nutrients. But this Ganoderma, or we call it Ganoderma lucidum or reishi, has very high servings of these things versus, let's say you have a cup of strawberry or I mentioned avocado, you need over instead of 150 in one dose, you may need about several cups of what you eat to get the right nutrients. So things like green tea we know have high dose of vitamin C, E, and D, whereas Ganoderma has a higher percentage in that type of nutrients. It also helps with many other things, not only for antidepressant, but also it's known for improving depressive-like behavior, but also for those who are going through chronic depressive disorder, mild to moderate, but also distresses the body. But not only that, it also with a calming effect. So it gives you the energy you need without actually any kind of crash, but also helps you with your pain tolerance. So for example, people who go through fibromyalgia symptoms, or if you're a cancer survivor and you have chronic pain that you've developed, especially if you're taking medication for suppressing your estrogen, your hormones. For example, my cousin, she's a breast cancer survivor, and they gave her the hormone suppressant pills for 5 years, and she had chronic pain before. So they did advise her that she's taking this going to amplify her pain. So thankfully, I was able to gift her with the Ganoderma lucidum to help her offset that, so that she is not as intense in the way of her pain management. So again, through these credible sites, we're finding all these great findings from doctors and people who are doing the studies on different tests on it. So there's certain foods we know that are highly great for, that have anti-inflammatory properties. So here's a perfect example. The diagram that shows, for example, if you want to get the exact amount of antioxidants from a single dose of Ganoderma, you need to have 7 tomatoes. If you want to have, let's say, green tea, you actually need 54 cups of green tea to get the dose of the Ganoderma lucida. And so I'm sharing that with you because think about it this way. How many of us, we start off great on vitamins and then we stop? We stop. You know, only 3% of the world population are consistent with their intake of vitamins or multivitamins. If you're like me, I'm not the best. I'll start, stop, remind myself, forget. So if that's the case, there are ways you can actually get the Ganoderma into your system every single day without having to sort of like, you know, remind yourself, right? So here's another one, the cordyceps. It also helps with, it also another superfood that I mentioned before, but it helps with unpredictable chronic mild stress. So it alleviates that. It's also anti-fatigue. So sometimes I mentioned before, if you're having a depressive situation or episode, you find that you're overly tired. You get up, you're more tired. You find your sleep is disrupted. By consuming this, you find that it'll change over time. Sometimes in a relatively short time to a longer period of time, depending on how toxic your body, how much toxins you have in your body from medication. But you find your body will express how it's feeling because the body doesn't lie. It tells you exactly how it feels, right? So here's another thing I want to share with you, the lion's mane. As you can see through the PubMed studies here, it's really great for your cognition, depressive disorders, stress and moodiness, and also mental energy. So your alertness improves. And actually, it's really great for your gut-brain communication, right? So one of the ways that we can bring this into, have us take advantage of these on our everyday consumable habits that we have. Because we know we like coffee, we like tea, we like hot cocoa like myself. Anything talking is good for me, but how can we get into our system without thinking it's a medication? Well, we actually have the ability through our patent to infuse the Ganoderma, the reishi, that's the reishi, the cordyceps, as well as the lion's mane into one of our main super sellers. Actually, it's a premium brand. It's called the Royale. So all three, if you're a coffee drinker or new, like new to the coffee world like myself the last few years, this actually has all three. So basically, you're getting the coffee that you need, but without negative effects, because all of these three helps your body to improve itself, but not the negative effects of caffeine. So you do have caffeine, but because of these three, it negates the negative effects of caffeine. So things like teas, if you're like me, I love tea as well, comes in tea form, which is the cordyceps as well as the reishi. This actually is really good because it's caffeine free naturally, but it helps with antidepressant. It has that effect as well because of polysaccharides. So here's a few as we wrap up in the last 2 slides. Here are some of the products we have. So for example, if you gravitate to sweet versus black, you can actually get in whatever form that your palate likes. So if your taste bud tends to gravitate to sweet, you can start off with, for example, a latte, which has the non-dairy creamer and cane sugar. Keep in mind, if you have other conditions like diabetes or other things that can actually spike your sugar, what our company has done is add more of the Ganoderma into the beverages that have cane sugar so your sugar level doesn't spike. I gave this with my mom for over several years, and checking her sugar, it didn't spike. The only reason it would spike is because she's actually choosing things that are not healthy for her on the slide. Things like King coffee, which is certified organic beans, as well as the spores, because it comes into 3 stages. The spores is actually just the seeds from the Ganoderma, which is 17 times more potent than the actual fruiting body, as you see here on the screen. But all of them have benefits because of the Ganoderma. The coffee, tea, hot cocoa are not what we're claiming here. These are just delivery mechanism to get the Ganoderma into your body, and then your body will respond accordingly because the body doesn't lie. Perfect example is, for example, the caffeine. The Cafe Supreme has 3 things. It has ginseng, pancatali, as well as the Ganoderma. And all these 3 work in synergy. And so you're consuming it, you're tasting the goodness of the gourmet beverages, the taste of it, and the side benefit is all of the experience you have because your body is responding in a positive way as you consume this over time. So here's a list of all the products we have, or some of the products. It comes in capsule forms, which is the pure form. So if you want a therapeutic dosage versus just a single cup, you can do that. I do take both, myself, my husband, our family, and we have also customers who are doing this. So what I will share to you is, or maybe express to you, try it. See what it does for you, because I can speak about the goodness of what we have been able to consume. And for myself, I've been consuming this for 12 years. My husband as well, the same. And we've got lots of feedback on individuals. For myself, I'm over generally healthy. My thing was my allergies, seasonal allergies I had for 21 years. In that 21 years, I had really bad allergies, even if I took antihistamine or things for reducing my allergies. But consuming it by switching this to my tea and then eventually coffee, it's been 12 years and it hasn't triggered. So I can thank goodness, thank God I don't have those, because my body's receiving what it needs, the right vitamins, the right nutrients, the right antioxidants, the right minerals and vitamins that will help me to stay healthier. So whatever you gravitate to, I would say to you, the person that invited you, I would encourage you to reach back out to the person and at least try it for 30, 60, or 90 days. Pay attention to your body. Basically switching your brand for that time exclusively. And then you can be the best judge of what it does for you. And so this will bring to your attention as well. We are actually excited to mention, and this is the end of our presentation for that part, but we're having a live in-person event July 26th, and here in Ajax at the Aldi Community Center, Recreation Center, sorry. And we are so excited because we'll have a few speakers. We'll have one speaking on, nutrients and individuals who go through things like neurodivergence, hypersensitivity, ADHD, autism. We'll have another one speaking on, she's the author molecular nutritionist. We also have a doctor, Dr. Bob Rakowski, who's going to be speaking on, chiropractic care, kinesiology, as well as he's a naturopathic doctor. She's speaking on the benefits of Ganoderma, what it can actually help your body with. I would have a live session where we can do sampling and trial sessions on different things like cognition and mindful positive wellness. So with that said, I'd like to maybe encourage you, if you have questions, to sort of ask them here. You can place it off of mute, or if you have a question in the, you can place it in the chat. But I want to thank you for your time. I do appreciate it, because you could have been doing something else. If there are any questions, please feel free to ask. Okay, great. So I believe, Deborah, you're on the call.
Yes, I am.
Okay, would you mind sharing, if you're okay with that, to share? I know you have a health condition, and we spoke offline about some things that you're experiencing. How has the consuming of the capsules and the products, how has it helped you with your journey? You mind sharing that with us?
No, not at all. It's been an awakening, because taking and just drinking the coffee, thinking of it as just coffee, you don't realize that it's more than coffee. I started putting the spores into food and drinks because I realized it was helping to regulate a lot of things all at once, not just one thing. Um, all of my test results and everything improved just over using the capsules. Um, I tested myself without having access to the capsules for a while. So I was off of them, and then I went back on them just to make sure I wasn't dreaming and that they were helping. They helped with for everything from digestion to the pain that I had to endure, just raising my arm, getting up, sitting down, everything would hurt all the time. And it was just really nice to realize that the something as simple, it seems so menial, like nothing that I was doing was helping me so much. So it just reassures me that at least this product, it does have a lot more benefits than we give it actual credit for. and I just feel it. I feel it. My body tells me the truth. And now, because of it, I can move and start reshaping my whole life again. It feels like it gave me my life back.
I'm very
Thank
happy that we're part of your health journey. Do you mind if you share with those here that what condition that your child
Fibromyalgia and lupus.
the fibromyalgia and lupus? Okay, so I'm glad that you're able to have a shift in your lifestyle for your health and to incorporate this. So I'm very happy that we're part of this journey. Awesome. So thank you so much,
Thank
John.
you.
You're very welcome. So for those of you, if you want to go into the chat, the link is there for the Eventbrite. You can click on it there, and for guests, it's free to attend. And we do have some brand ambassadors who actually be part of that, and they purchased it. But there's a limited amount of seats for that event for free attendees, free admission, sorry. And grab it what you can because they go very fast. We have not sort of officially launched it through the social media. We've been telling friends and family and those of our previous customers. So first come, first serve. And like I said, we have limited capacity. So thank you so much for being a part of this journey with us, for allowing us to share our insights. As we mentioned, we're not health practitioners, but we're health enthusiasts. And we're just passionate about health. Wanted to help everyone that we can and adding value. So have a great day, everyone. Take care and blessings to each and every one of you. Bye-bye for now.